Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. There's this point from the verses that point to the divine qayyumiyyah, like a biyadihi malakutu kulli shayin. In his hand is the dominion of all things. Lahul mulku vel ard. To him belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. And inema emruhu iza arada shay'an and yakula lehu kun fayakun. His command is only when he intends a thing that he says to it, be, and it is. It's a hint at the divine Hayyumiyya, and it's a glimpse of the greatest name, Ismi Azam, or the second light from the two lights of the greatest name, or the sixth light from the six lights of the greatest name, which is the name Qayyum. This great manifestation appeared to my mind in the month of Dhul Qadr. It appeared to my mind in the month of Dhul Qadr. Due to the restrictions in Eskişehir prison, I certainly won't be able to fully explain that great light. However, since Hazrat Imam Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, in his Qasida-i Irkuze mentioned that greatest name with the name Sakina, and in his Jaltiya, he considered those 6 names within the greatest name as the most supreme and most important. And since he kindly gave us comfort for discussing them, we will also point to that great light with at least a brief explanation in 5 rays, like the previous 5 names, regarding this name Qayyum. The first ray. The creator of this universe is the majestic Qayyum. It was about believing in Allah. Our duty was to know Allah. And one of the many lights of knowing Allah is the name Qayyum. Knowing Allah through his name Qayyum. So, the creator of this universe, the majestic Qayyum, the being who created this universe, everything in it from the smallest to the largest, everything in the cosmos. The being is Allah, and at the same time he is Qayyum, meaning he created everything, but he himself was not created. That's what it's saying. He is self-existent, eternal and everlasting. All things subsist by him. They continue and remain in existence, finding permanence. If that relation of Qayyumiyyah were to be severed from the universe even for a moment, the universe would be destroyed. The creator of this universe is the majestic Qayyum, meaning he is self-existent, eternal, and everlasting. All things subsist by him. They continue and remain in existence, finding permanence. If that relation of Qayyumiyyah were to be severed from the universe even for a moment, the universe would be destroyed. Independent. For example, this book, from the sentence I understand, doesn't have an independent existence. It doesn't have a separate existence independent from Allah. Or this table doesn't have a separate independent existence from Allah. How do atoms or things exist? They have an existence that relies on him. He brought them into existence, and their existence continues through his sustaining them in existence. For example, the simplest example of this is what? It's like the reflection of the sun's light in a mirror. Like the reflection in a mirror. The reflection of the sun's light in a mirror is something different from the sun, but it gets its thing, its power, from the sun. The existence of the reflection at every moment comes from the sun. The sun is the one that brings its existence there, and the sun is the one that sustains its existence. If its connection with the sun were severed, it would cease to exist. All creatures, if their connection with the divine power that brought them into existence were severed, everything would instantly cease to exist. That's its nature, it's partial. For example, now create atoms. Creating the atoms themselves, and then giving them order are two different things. I mean, bringing them into existence. For example, there's bringing them into existence from nothing, and then there's giving them shape, governing them. I mean, if the part related to governing were withdrawn, they would scatter and go, but they wouldn't disappear. The very essence wouldn't disappear. But the very existence of the thing itself is also dependent on qayyumiyah. It would also cease to exist. I mean, nothing existed in the first place. He brought it into existence. It didn't exist, I mean. The universe wasn't there. I mean, he brought it into existence. Because he brought it into existence, it exists. Because he brought it into existence. If he annihilates it, it will cease to exist. Not just in the sense of scattering, I mean the relation, the dependence, its dependence on Allah, the relation of qayyumiyah. For example, he's reading that sentence in the letters, mektubat. Abilizat var mı? Heme değil, heme zostur diyor. Is there a cause? It is not just a cause, but also a most just end. I mean, ekein eşya emi os değil, hem ezostur. All things are not just means, but also most just ends. What does it mean? I mean, here, the aim is to remember the greatness of Allah. Allah is such a being that he brought this whole universe into existence from nothing. I mean, the ground we step on, the air, I mean, what is there? The sun, I mean, a being who brought everything into existence from nothing, and a being who sustains its existence. Qayyum means this. I mean, we will know Allah through his name, Qayyum. Look, yes, the grand highway is the way of the companions, the successors, and the purified saints. Hakaykul eşitetun cümlesi, the reality of all things, is their universal principle. And Allah Almighty has no resemblance to anything, according to the meaning of Laysa kamislihi shayun. There is nothing like unto him. He has no relation to anything, according to the meaning of Laysa kamislihi shayun. For example, that thing we read last Thursday in the letters. Sani kainat kainat cinsinden değildir. The maker of the universe is certainly not of the same kind as the universe. It says here in the 10th word, in the part وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ فَقَدَّرَهُ تَقْدِيرًا, and he has created everything and determined it with precise determination. Sani kainat elbette kainat cinsinden değildir. Mahiyet hiçbir mahiyete benzemez. Mahiyet hiçbir mahiyete benzemez. The maker of the universe is certainly not of the same kind as the universe. His essence resembles no essence whatsoever. His essence resembles no essence whatsoever. That's why. And could you give me that part from the Mathnawi, brother? Let's also read that famous saying in the Mathnawi. I mean, it gives us a measure in contemplation. We will think within those measures. I mean, in the Mathnawi, on page 131, there's a very beautiful saying. I told the brothers to memorize it, but I don't know if you did. This knowledge is not memorized. This knowledge will be memorized. Ner merfu. Did you memorize it? Look, this saying on page 131. Did you forget it? Memorize it again. Ilm eyyuhel aziz. Know, O dear one. If you look at Allah Almighty with the title known and familiar, he becomes unknown and denied. Because this familiarity is a customary habit, a taklidi, imitative hearing. It is not an expression that will inform about the truth. Moreover, the meaning that comes to the understanding with that title cannot take the absolute essence with all its attributes and cast it into the mind. It is only a kind of title for considering the sacred essence, For example, do we see Allah now? We don't see Him, but we will see Him. We will see Him in paradise, God willing, but we can't see Him in this world. But what do we know? I mean, we know that Allah created this universe, right? We know Him as the being who created this universe behind the veil of the unseen universe, right? Allah Almighty. Look, I mean, we don't know what the essence of Allah is like, but what do we know? Since He created this universe, it means He created it. So He is a being capable of creating, powerful enough to create. I mean, He is powerful enough to create, so He created it. So when we say Allah, we think of Allah as the one who created this universe. With that we think. Otherwise, thinking directly about the essence of Allah leads a person to denial, it says. The universe, for example, Allah, the one who governs all those clouds and waters the whole earth, for example. I mean, thinking of Allah with His actions, His names, His attributes. Otherwise, when you think of His essence, it says, because the essence of Allah resembles nothing, you will never be able to think of it. If you say you thought of it, that would be denial, it says, because what you thought of will not be Him. Why? Because when you think, what else does a person think of, it says? Because this familiarity is a customary habit, a taqlidi, imitative hearing. It is not an expression that will inform about the truth. I mean, one will look at the universe. One will think of Allah by likening Him to things in the universe. But Allah has already created the universe. So can something He created resemble the Creator? I mean, can the created be the same as the Creator? Allah is the Creator. The universe is the created. Can the created and the Creator be the same number? Because it was created, so that which created it cannot be the same. So whatever you liken Him to from the universe, it's wrong from the start. So that's why we shouldn't try to think about the essence of Allah, about the nature of His essence, because that's close to us. But we try to know Him through His attributes, like the universe. The universe, for example, the universe doesn't give us information about the essence of Allah, because our way of knowing Allah is the universe. What is taken from the universe doesn't give information about the essence of His being, because His essence is not the same as the universe. I mean, what is it the same as? It's the same as the manifestation of His power, His knowledge. The universe gives information about His power. But one thinks of His essence from there. So He has an essence that possesses this power. Because since there is no such power in anything in the universe, we will think with that kind of title consideration. So it goes like this. Now let's go back here.